First of all, I want to tell you about training.gov.au because it is the place where you should go to if you want to know anything about, have I got the right units, what units can my RTO deliver, all of those things. And training.gov.au is closely linked when you do your events reporting. So the details in training.gov.au are actually connected in a way that they are validated against the data in training.gov.au. So make sure your EVETMIS data and your training.gov.au data is all consistent, even things like your contact details for your RTO. And I believe that you can log into training.gov.au with your ASQA details. I'm not an RTO, so I'm not sure, but that's what I've been told by the other RTOs that I've spoken to. Okay, let's get into it then. So when it comes to RTOs, I'm going to tell you about terminology around training.gov.au and EVETMIS and course sales. So you've got a bit of a linkage there between the terms. I'm going to show you about signing into training.gov.au. That's really useful. Now we're just going to call it TGA. Okay, that's often, if you go onto any of the LinkedIn forums, you'll see people referring to TGA, and basically that means training.gov.au. TGA, much quicker to type out. I'll show you how to subscribe to notifications, which is really useful, not just for keeping track of your units that you've got to know when they're updated, but also to be able to track your competitors even. So you can track other people's RTOs and see what changes they make to their records, which could give you a bit of an inkling as to what they're planning on doing, what new courses they're planning on launching, and those sorts of things. We're going to show you about searching qualifications and searching units of competency. Okay, so here's just a rundown of some of the terminology. So moving across here, you can see qualification and training.gov.au. And EVETMIS, this is called a program. In course sales, we call it a qualification. A unit of competency is called a subject in EVETMIS, and we basically record that information as a course module, but we do refer to a unit of competency and do refer to the subject details on the course module. So the course module records the information for EVETMIS and from training.gov.au. Training packages don't seem to actually be referred to in EVETMIS. They tend to be just groups of units. So the units are referred to, but not the training package. And they are basically held in the format. So they're grouped together, units are grouped together as a format. And the accredited course is the same, skill sets are the same. Modules within training.gov.au in EVETMIS, they're called the subject. So they're kept in the NAT60 file and the NAT120 file. And then for coursesales.com, this is assembled in the course module. The course module refers to the details about the units of competency. We also use a course module to record the details about a module. So when you visit training.gov.au, TGA, you're going to end up on this page, mainly because sometimes I think they find that students go to that website thinking that they're going to be able to get some details about training providers, and so they've got this extra check. Are you looking for? And of course, as an organisation involved in the training, you want to go to training.gov.au proper, so you can click on that far right-hand icon there. Once you get there, you can sign in. So once you sign in, and it's in the top right-hand corner of the sign in button, you can sign in with your details. So I've got some details here that I sign in with. And you can even register for a new account if you want to. So you don't actually have to have an RTO to be able to register, which is pretty handy for people like me. And once you're registered, you can then go on and you can do a few cool things. You can do things like notifications. Now, subscribing to notifications is to receive the updates. And as you see here, notifications allow users to subscribe to training packages, units, skill sets, and accredited courses, and be automatically notified via email when these are updated. That's very useful. So you can get a bit of an idea, get a heads up as to when things change. For example, when a new version of the training package or accredited course becomes available, or when the item is superseded. Similarly, users can subscribe to a registered training organisation to be notified when they are updated, for example, when scope items or contact details are changed. So you can actually be notified when those things are happening, when there are changes for training organisations. So when you choose to enter, so I'll just go back actually a bit. So when you enter in, for example, a training organisation ID or a name, You can search for it. Now this is, I suggest you immediately search for your own organization and click on the search button. That'll give you then the option to subscribe. So you basically tick this to subscribe, click on save, and then you get this pop-up saying, hey, you're going to be able to add one organization. So do you wish to continue? And choose to subscribe to all the items on the scope for all the RTOs. You can actually have a big list of RTOs here if you need to. And then you click on next, and that'll basically subscribe you to any of the units of competency. And if it's a qualification that you have signed up for, then you'll get all the units of competency within that qualification. So that can be quite a few, and probably a few more than you need. So you can actually go back, and I'll show you in a moment, and you can just sign up to the individual units if you've got particular units you'd prefer to keep track of. So you can edit and remove notifications. So you can see there, you can click on the edit button or click on the delete button across to the right. I'll just get my annotation up so you can clearly see my spotlight there. So you can see across here the way you can click on the delete, or you can click on the edit. Now, if you click on edit, this is listing those that I'm receiving notifications for. If you click on edit, then you get this option to manage the notification. And like I say, this can help reduce the email avalanche. So you may get quite a few emails if you're getting every single change. For example, changes in classification you might not be too keen on or might not care about, but you might like to know about new releases. So you can untick the all changes and tick the new release, and that'll let you know about that, and click on save. So you can also track notifications. So when you're looking at a unit of competency, which I'll show you in a moment, you can get on the top right-hand corner a button to say notify me of changes. So if you had to be looking at a unit of competency, you're not sure if you're currently receiving notifications about it. If you're not, it'll come up here saying notify me of changes, and you can click on that button, click on that text, and that will add that to your list. Or if you're already tracking it, then it's going to have this manage notification text. So you're indicated basically when you are managing a particular or receiving notifications for a particular unit or qualification or not. So let's go into searching qualifications. So if you want to search for a qualifications, on the right-hand side in the quick search area, type in the name of the qualification that you want to search for. Now you can always type in the ID, that's a quick way to get to it, or you can type in things like a diploma of engineering and that'll give you a list. And of course you've got these choices to look at superseded data and deleted data as well. That's another option for you. And of course down here you can search up your competitors and find out their details and subscribe to any changes related to them. Okay, so once you've done that search, you can see here I've got quite a few different diplomas that have come up. Some of them are superseded, so you can see here how it indicates on the right-hand side that these are no longer relevant. They've been superseded, and they've been superseded by the top one here, which says current. Okay, so keep an eye on what the recommendation is. Those that have been deleted are indicated as well. So obviously you don't have to worry about too much about those. This may be useful if you're wanting to check the units of competency that a current student wants to attend and see what units of competency they've completed, what they need to refresh on. So once you click on this button here on the left-hand side, click on the text that has the code of the qualification. You can see here too, we've got this ability to sign in that I mentioned before. So this is taking us to the qualification. A couple of cool things here. Number one is usage recommendation. Is this the current qualification? And this is saying it's current, so it is the current qualification. Tells you what it's superseded, which can be useful. Up the right-hand corner here, we've got the ability to notify me of changes. So if I haven't subscribed to this, I can click on this and that will sign me in and it will notify me of the changes that go on regarding this qualification. And down below here, you can see what the units of competency that are relevant with this particular qualification. Now I'm just going to check in, guys. How am I going here? Is the timing okay? Am I zooming through it too fast? Are you guys familiar with this, or what's your experience in using training.gov.au? I'll just unmute you, Kane, see if you're available to let us know your experience. Hey there, Kane. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, Scott. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. So have you been?
Where's your helmet? You're going to run out of air if you're not careful.
Oh no, this is from when I went up to space with Elon Musk
Right.
not long ago. So yeah, he
Yeah.
took me up there.
Yeah. No, I'm following it at the moment. Yes. All
Yeah,
good.
and you've used train.gov.au.
I
Are you
have.
signed up for notifications or?
I don't know if I'm signed up. I think David might be signed up, but I'd have
Okay.
to have a look at that. But because I just came on a bit later when I just saw you going through the notifications, but it was interesting. I don't
Yeah.
know if we've got that, but I'm going to look at reviewing this video at that start
Okay.
to do
Sounds
that.
good.
So
And you can of course check in to see what your competitors are doing as well. Keep track of what
yes,
they're
yeah,
adding to their scope, which is pretty handy. It's like your little spy. Thanks, Esquire. I'll mute you now, mate. So feel free to
right.
unmute or mention in the chat if you need to. How about you, Kate? I know you've got a new RTO, so I'm trying to unmute, but I can't. But you, what's your experience with train.gov.au? Have you used it a lot?
A little bit. Can you hear me?
I can, yep.
Yep. A little bit. I logged in, like set up an account as a non-registered RTO. So I'd already had a bit of a look around. But Lee's used it lots. So,
Right, okay.
but yeah, now we can log in as an RTO. So that's kind of cool.
Cool. And as our RTO, can you see anything different to what I've got here, or are there more options for you? Do you know? Or?
No, looks pretty much the same. I just looked on it now. So yeah, it looks pretty much the same.
Cool.
So I've just got to set up those notification things like you just said. They were kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Good way to keep track of it, right? So just see how it goes with the avalanche of emails. Hopefully not too many. So
It's a bit like that.
okay, cool. I'll just mute you now. So feel free to unmute if you want to have a chat. Okay, cool. So continuing on then, the next step is to look further down. So further down on the qualification, we've got this big list of units of competencies. And you find that when you're looking at these qualifications, they have an untold number of units associated with them. Obviously, all these units aren't necessary to be sat by the student. They don't need to do, in this case, 203 units of competency. That would be crazy. Some of those are a core, that is to say they should be done in every case for the qualification. And then there are elective qualifications that are done as an option. So usually an RTO chooses which ones they would like to have delivered, and that's somewhat dependent upon whether those qualifications have been awarded to the particular trainers. And there's a subset effectively of those 203 units that are delivered by a training organisation. So you might not want to be notified of 203 units and all the changes that go on in those 203 units. That's probably worthwhile considering, and I'll show you in a moment maybe how you can do that. So classifications, these are not so relevant now because these are recorded within train.gov.au. When we used to have to record these in the EVETMIS data, we no longer have to. They've realized that, heck, we've got this data already. Once we've got the ID of the qualification, we can quickly find out this ANZ SCO identifier, etc. But if you do happen to be reporting to a local state-based training authority, then you may have to include this because I don't know quite why, but for some reason they don't seem to be able to get this data, so they need you to include it when you're doing your monthly reporting or regular reporting with them. So this can be a useful place to get that information. Further down on the qualification, there's a bit of information about packaging rules. This is where it talks about the core units of competency and then elective units of competency. And there are some pretty complex rules associated with some of these qualifications. Things like up to 8 of the general units in Group A have to be done, and at least 15 of the specialist elective groups and elective units in Group B have to be done, which give you a total of 23, blah, blah, blah. And so there's a little bit of toing and froing and working out exactly what people are allowed to do and what they can't do. So keep that in mind when you're grouping together your qualifications for sale. Make sure you've got the right core units and the right proportion of elective units from whatever groups they are referring to if you happen to be doing these qualifications for students. Okay, so that's qualifications. Now we're going into units of competency. Now, one of the things to keep an eye on is this usage recommendation. If we suddenly have a superseded unit, we shouldn't really be delivering that anymore unless you're doing some sort of transition. And usually there is a period of transition. I believe it's around about 6 months, maybe it's even a year, where an old unit of competency has been superseded, but both of the existing units can be delivered until everyone's got up to speed. The trainers have actually got those units of competency on their scope as well, and therefore the training organisation can start delivering those new units that supersede these old units of competency. And by the way, a little trick is never think that the name is indicative of what is the most recent one. Let's say, for example, you might think that MEA 108B is more advanced than MEA 108A. Don't make that assumption, because this numbering system, this code system, just seems to not follow at all a version sequence where it's incremental. I don't know why, but suddenly you might have an MEA 108 that doesn't have a letter after it, and apparently that's the most recent one. So just don't get fooled by the name. So here we've got our unit, we've got through to the current unit of competency. So you can see there, if you go to the one that isn't current, I'll just go back a bit, you can actually go to this MEA 108. There's an example there, MEA, oh, that's actually a completely different number, completely different unit of competency here, but it is a current unit of competency. That looks to me like there are actually a couple there. It looks to me like this one here, 108B, is superseded by an equivalent to MEA 108. And then I think after that, you can see here 108 got superseded by this one here, MEA 157. Very complicated, really not worth worrying too much about. Just make sure there's a green current in there, okay? And then you get to the latest one. So qualifications that are included, that include this unit are listed, and also elements of performance criteria. So this is the performance criteria that you're expected to measure students to make sure that they have met the requirements for this particular unit. And there's a bit of information there about assessment requirements, etc., to keep track of. So again, a really useful place to go to for this information. Okay, so we moved on to the quiz now. So that's training.gov.au. That's a quick sort of run-in with that. Seems to be pretty complete. But here are some questions for you. So which will help if you want to keep updated with changes to units, qualifications, and other items on your scope? Nice, easy question. Do you just search the qualifications or units? Do you subscribe to the notifications and increase the number of emails going to your inbox? Do you search Google, or do you think AS was just going to let you know because they're so helpful and handy like that? I'm sure we all know what the answer is, so I'm just going to display it. It's of course B. Yeah, great. Yeah, Kane, that's what Kane usually does. He usually searches Google because that's the best place to go. But now, from now on, he will subscribe to notifications because he doesn't have nearly enough emails coming to his inbox. Great way to keep up to date with that. Okay, next question. Do I need to subscribe to all units for a qualifications? For a qualification? Is that a yes or is that a no? Well, you can, but you don't have to. You don't need to subscribe to those units you're actually delivering. So, thanks, Kane. So those units that you want to actually cover. So let's say, for example, you are only delivering RSA. If RSA is part of a larger qualification, and that's the one that your organisation has signed up to, but you don't deliver any of the other units, why the heck get all those notifications, right? Just sign up to the one that you're interested in receiving. So just be aware of not having to. Equally, I don't think there's much of a point in tracking all the units of competency from all your competitors, right? Just track what changes in scope at the RTO level, not at the unit of competency level. Okay, a unit of competency is represented in coursesales.com where? So where do we find the details of a unit of competency? Now, we're going to be talking about this a lot over the next little while. So this is pretty important to know. This is basically, you might think maybe it's the topics. You might think it's either the course topic or the document topic. But actually, if you drill down there, it actually goes all the way down to the course module. So the course module is linked to the course topic, and then the course topic is defined in the format. Okay, so it's the course module where we have the unit of competency information. And finally, if a unit is superseded, what do we need to do in coursesales.com? Now, we're going to be going into detail about this. So it's a bit of a trick question, a bit of a tough question right now. But the recommendation is that we create a new course module and link it to the format. We don't just edit the old course module. If we edit the old course module, it could have a knock-on effect of where that old course module has been used for other qualifications or other students during the year, or even in past years. If you're planning on recreating things like statements of attainment for students who attended the year before or the year before that, or qualifications, record of results, you really want to keep those old course modules there. So don't just edit the old course module, and don't just wait till it automatically changes, because it's never going to automatically change. That would be a bit of a nightmare if things just started changing behind the scenes. So it's not going to automatically change. That's an invented word by us here. People believe that things happen automatically, or is it auto-magically? We don't know. So create a new course module and link it to the format. As it says there, creating a new course module is the recommended way to cater for upgrades to an existing unit of competency. This is added to the format through a topic. Okay, so if the unit of competency gets upgraded. So here's an activity. We're not going to do this now, but maybe take some time to do this after the presentation. Get back to me and let me know how it goes. So I'd like you to sign in to training.gov.au and register to receive updates to your qualifications and units on scope. Okay, so do that. So that'll definitely help you, I think, moving forward, so you can keep track of that. Nothing worse than being caught out by finding out just the day before the old unit expires that you haven't got the new unit up and running. And as an advanced sort of activity, go and register to receive updates on your closest competitors. Perhaps not their units, because that'll be a lot of information coming to you, but other updates are useful. So knowing when they're updating the details of who's, maybe when they've sold the company, they're going to have to update the contact details. Maybe we have a change of staff, they're going to update details. If you're keeping in close contact with those competitors, it's kind of good to know that that information. You might get a heads up before it actually comes out. And of course, we've got useful guides. Go to our YouTube channel. It's becoming populated with all these videos, which is pretty helpful. And of course, when you're in course sales, you can use the wizard. You can go to create a support ticket. You can do some online chat, or you can get some contextualized help as well. And that last one there, that's the history button, shows you the records that you've recently edited. And there's a bit of a link down there to other references. These are the references that tell you what you've got to do when you upgrade units of competency. So that might be worth reviewing as well.